This is Loab. She's described as the first AI generated cryptid because of how persistently and consistently her image appears in AI generated art, and nobody really knows why. Loab doesn't randomly show up in image generations. That's a bunch of crap from people who misunderstood the artist who created it. The original Loab image was created using negative prompts in Midjourney. IIRC. The original prompt was Brando 1. The thing that made the image go viral was the fact that the artist proceeded to use the Loab image as a prompt itself, and whatever word prompts they combined with it tuned into surreal images containing gore. The artist then used those images as prompts, and did the same with their results, so on and so forth, and found that the woman's face would re-emerge even if the image prompt didn't contain her face anymore. The face would only re-emerge if the image prompt traced back to the original Loab image. As someone who is somewhat familiar with the field, I can make an educated guess. The characteristics of Loab are not normally ones one would want in a generated image. Creepy eyes, dermatitis, weird mouth, etc. AI image generation works by exploring what is called latent space. I'll put an example at the bottom for the curious, but for now don't worry about the specifics. The important thing is where you are in latent space is determined by your prompts. Prompts can have either a positive weight, for what you want to see, or a negative weight, for what you don't want to see. The final piece of this is in the AI training. The AI has been trained to avoid things that people really don't want to see, gore, scatological imagery, disease/deformity, and so on. My guess is that something to do with the use of negative prompts had flipped the AI, so to speak, into this area that is normally to be avoided. Since it's a human face with imagery that we don't generally want in our results, you could analogize it to an intrusive thought in a human. Of course, AI isn't like humans, it doesn't think while inactive, any more than a bicycle rides without human input, but still. Latent space. We'll use a simple example here that gets the point across. Let's take an 8px by 8px grid. Each of those 64 pixels can be thought of as a three-dimensional space of red, green, and blue light. So, multiplying out, our 64px image can be thought of as a point in an 192-dimensional space. So basically kind of like how nightmares people get in real life can stem from piled up stress during the day. Resting is the positive weight that we think is enough to repress information that we don't want to think about anymore. But then boom, sexual dream with scary aliens. I read an interesting post about this from a mathematician/computer scientist. I'm probably horribly oversimplifying their explanation, but it was along these lines. If we think of latent space as being a bit like a polygon, it's easier to picture 2 or 3 dimensions, but it's actually many more. When you select a collection of normal positive prompts, you're telling the AI to look in a specific area of that latent space. Imagine the furthest away points from these desirable zones in the latent space. These will always be in a corner somewhere. More than this, it will likely be the same corner. Negative prompts are designed to steer an AI away from a place you're defining in the latent space, so will tend to push you to that specific corner of latent space. As the corner represents a singular point, you'll find many similar results. That's where you can find Loab. Sure. Now bear in mind, I'm just an enthusiastic amateur and not formally educated in this field, so the details might be a bit wonky. We'll start with 1 pixel. All possible values for that 1 pixel can be represented by a 3D space. Take the X, Y, and Z axes as red, green and blue light respectively. The origin of this cube, 0, 0, 0, is pure black, and the opposite corner, 255,255,255, is pure white. So, multiplying 64 pixels out for 3 dimensions per pixel, you get 192 dimensions. Well, really you get 3,8,8 dimensions, which is not quite the same thing, but I'm less familiar with that myself as I'm not into the mathematics of it as much. Plus, that is pixel space and not latent space. Just think of latent space as a meta way of representing that pixel space that reduces memory usage. So, for any given grid of x by x pixels, every possible image is a point in this space, just like every point in our original 3D space had a point for every color that pixel could be. Virtual AI Wraith trying to penetrate our reality. Who knows what she'll do when she finally gets here?
Mosey on down to the Atomic Shaman trading post. We have t-shirts, decals, refrigerator magnets and other swag for sale. What better way to show your support for the show? Our merch can only be found on t.pub/lit/Atomic Shaman trading post. Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.